Welcome to the Philip Koerper Show. I'm Philip Koerper. This is August 23rd, and this is episode 24. Really excited to be with you today. Want to talk about Donald Trump. Want to mention the Molly Tippett's murder briefly, and finish up with a great quote from Martin Luther King Jr. In the current news cycle, the left is very excited. Apparently, since Mueller's not supposed to interfere with the elections, I guess it's 60 days away, that he's not really supposed to make a lot of public rumbling with his investigation so close to the midterm elections. We've got two situations that happened yesterday, the day before. Michael Cohen is pleading guilty of making some bank fraud, tax fraud, and federal elections fraud or crimes. And then Paul Manafort is also been found guilty of banking and tax frauds. Anyhow, apparently Michael Cohen, his lawyer is Lanny Davis. Lanny Davis was the lawyer for Bill Clinton when he was involved in all of his sex scandals. I did notice that there is a GoFundMe for Michael Cohen. It's called the Michael Cohen Truth Fund. It's up to $133,762 right now, a goal of $500,000. And so you can donate. Lanny Davis has set this up. You could donate to this cause, which is just illustrative of all the things that are going on here. First of all, I remember when I was reading about this yesterday. I remember that Barack Obama's fundraising in 2008. There was violations, and that his campaign was fined $375,000, which was the greatest campaign fine ever. The previous one was Bob Dole at $100,000. So as I went back and looked at this, so Obama in the 2008 campaign, where I think he raised or spent like $1 billion, and so this fine was huge. And then there was all these donations. They noticed within a 48-hour, there was a missing 48-hour notice for nearly 1,300 contributions totaling more than $1.8 million. This is a Political article from 2013. So it was not until 5 years later that we found out that the Obama administration, the Obama 2008 campaign, that they were in violation of Federal Election Commission rules. Now, in all fairness, I have to say that all of these rules with elections, I think, is really stupid. We have a First Amendment right. If you run for office, if you're a billionaire, you can totally self-fund your campaign. You can put $1 billion into your campaign. But if you're not a billionaire, you have to go through all these rules and regulations to collect money. I don't think that's fair at all. I think there's freedom of speech. If someone is running for office, I should be able to contribute to his campaign freely. So it is very ironic. Okay, so what happened to the Obama? Okay, so right now, the left is very excited that, looks like Michael Cohen is going to talk about how these payments to these women for hush money, how this was campaign money, and so now this is a campaign finance violation. Okay, big deal. Okay, let's suppose that is. I agree you should obey by the rules, but let's suppose that this rule was not followed, like Obama's campaign, the rule was not followed. Well, then there'll be a fine. Oh, big deal. So Trump can just pay the fine. But Trump is saying now, he interviewed with Ainsley Earhardt of Fox News yesterday morning and said that he didn't know about these and found out later about this hush money. So either way, what's going on here, I don't think this is going to be the huge smoking gun that the left is really looking for. Okay, so Trump is insisting that he found out about these payments later on. Okay, so what does this really mean? Uh, this is really turned, this is really fascinating, as I mentioned yesterday. This is fascinating how the founding fathers knew that when someone's elected president, there's constantly going to be the opposing side that's going to try to prevent him from being president. So you can be elected president, but if the other side, the opponents, continue to harass you and stuff, then you can never act out on being president. You never execute your powers and to be presidential, to get things done, to get your policies implemented through congressional action, and now with our huge administrative state, through rules and regulations and things like that. So the left is really going after Donald Trump now, but he's protected. He is protected from all of these things. And so the only way, even if he's convicted, even if Michael Cohen squeals on Donald Trump and all this criminal activity, possible criminal activity, it doesn't look like there is any evidence of criminal activity. It's amazing that Bob Mueller, with this big, huge magnifying glass, is looking all over the Trump campaign and stuff. Can you imagine if they did this to Obama in 2008? Well, then they would have found those payments. Not 5 years later, they would have found them in 2009. They would have found all of that out. So this incredible scrutiny that Donald Trump is getting and his campaign, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing scrutiny, and it frustrates me because I don't really think it's very fair. Okay, none of us are completely perfect. None of us can pay our taxes perfectly. I'm a physician. The hospital bills under Medicare. The Medicare rules are incredibly complicated. I'm hoping that the hospital's billing for my services correctly. But boy, if someone got a big magnifying glass out, I know they're going to find some mistakes in the billing. And then what are they going to do? Accuse me of billing fraud? Like Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort are being accused of. So this scrutiny is intense. But I really think Donald Trump is really smart about this, because this is really going to move to the court of public opinion. And Donald Trump will have to be impeached if there's like a bunch of criminal activity found, or even not criminal activity. A lot of this is just, this collusion or this obstruction or all these things. Some of this falls below. Collusion is not a crime. So it's going to have to be, the Americans are going to have to be persuaded that Donald Trump is crooked and they want him out, okay? And then the Senate has to have 67 votes to convict him, okay? There's 51 Republican senators right now. So no one's predicting that the Democrats are going to pick up that many seats to be able to overthrow Donald Trump, to really impeach and convict him. The House can impeach him. If the House turns Democratic, then there's a possibility they're saying that they can impeach him. But for the Senate to convict him and throw him out of office is very unlikely, especially if Americans are supporting him. And that was the great thing about the rally in West Virginia, is that you are with thousands of Americans who support Donald Trump. I mean, who will wait in line, who will travel for hours. We had to drive over 2 hours to be with him. And I was there with other people who came from Pikeville, where I work. And so we had to come a long way to go see him. And so he has very ardent supporters. His popularity is up. His policies are working. And so I think Donald Trump is good to go to the American people and plead his case and let American people know about his policies that are helping keep unemployment low, helping the tax market grow, the stock market grow, helping businesses, providing for jobs. These are really good things that Donald Trump can take credit for right now and keeping us safe. I want to talk about keeping us safe. And so Newt Gingrich was talking about this. The media, it's so funny. I was at work, I was switching between Fox News and CNN. And CNN is just covering this Paul Manafort thing, this Michael Cohen thing. Lanny Davis is all over the place. NPR is interviewing Lanny Davis. Lanny Davis is just talking about how corrupt Donald Trump is. I mean, what is going on? Lanny Davis is the lawyer of Michael Cohen right now. Well, what we can obviously see, I mean, just it's very plain to see. Most Americans don't follow a lot of this stuff, but it's so plain to see that this is just political. This is politics. Okay, it's Republican versus Democrats. And okay, that's all right. This is politics. I'm not complaining about that. But I think Americans are seeing this Michael Cohen thing, this Paul Manafort thing, this Bob Mueller investigation as political. And it is political. Bob Mueller will then, when he's done with his investigations, he's going to try to convict or delegate to other jurisdictions convictions or of possible criminal activity. But then at the end of the day, Bob Mueller will issue a piece of paper and it will say, he'll give his report. Okay. And that report just goes to, I don't know, Congress or whoever, to American people. And then we can decide what to do with this investigation, with this information. You know, Bob Mueller has no power to throw Donald Trump out of office. No, he's only going to give a report. And then Congress, it's the House of Representatives and the Senate, they're the only ones who can touch President Trump. They're the only ones by impeaching him and convicting him in the Senate. That's the only way. And of course, I'm old and I remember vividly, you know, and Newt Gingrich was talking about this. I mean, the political capital of going after Bill Clinton and impeaching him and then trying to convict him, and they were failed to get the votes in the Senate, which is a difficult thing to get 67 votes in the Senate. Okay, there'll be some squishy Democrats, senators who might not want to possibly, if we go down that road, to convict Donald Trump. Okay, if Joe Manchin is a senator still, if he survives, he gets reelected in West Virginia, I don't know if he's going to try to convict Donald Trump. Okay, where Donald Trump's popularity in his state of West Virginia is very, very high. So a lot of that's just a political thing. So sometimes I get so frustrated with the Bob Mueller thing. I know they're going after, this is frustrating. I read a headline that Michael Cohen, they're going after him with the Trump Foundation. I mean, this kind of intense scrutiny is really extremely frustrating because we all know about the Clinton Foundation. We all know about Uranium One. We know all of these other things that the other side has done. It doesn't make things right if there's corruption on the Trump side. Just corruption on the Hillary Clinton camp doesn't make it right. But politics, I mean, especially when you're using the Department of Justice, the FBI, and now a special counsel, this is very frustrating that the Republicans are getting incredible scrutiny and the Democrats seem to be getting off scot-free. Politically, that doesn't look fair. And you know what? The thing is, this is political. This whole thing is political. This is why Donald Trump is very smart to call this a witch hunt. And I believe it is, because it's a political witch hunt. Okay? He won, we won, and they lost. And they're upset, and they're really trying to thwart it. It is ironic. I look at a tweet from the Donald yesterday, and he tweeted, "If anyone is looking for a good lawyer, I would strongly suggest that you don't retain the services Michael Cohen." Okay, so it's very funny. And if you look at the most replied tweet on Twitter, okay, it's going to be the opposition. It's got 504 likes, and it's pushed it to the top of my Twitter feed. And it's a picture of this guy holding up a sign in front of the White House, and his sign says, "TikTok mother effer." Okay, that's what the sign says. Okay, so that is the debate out in the public, or at least in social media. Okay, it's us versus them. Okay, and I was thinking about this on my run this morning. It is us versus them. I'm a Republican. I support Donald Trump wholeheartedly. It's us versus them. Now, the Republicans, we might not always agree with what we're doing. We might not always agree with Donald Trump is doing. So we can go into the locker room during halftime and we can talk about it in private, in the locker room, some of the things that we want to do. Okay. If we think that Donald Trump's not doing something right, or Paul Ryan or Mitch McConnell, one of our Republican leaders, it's so great now that we've got the House and the Senate and the presidency right now. That is so sweet. And we've got some issues. we can talk about it. But I don't want to air all of these things out on the football field. We're not going to start yelling and screaming at a teammate on the football field. No, no, no. We're not going to do that. We're going to just keep it down, keep it on the low, go into the locker room, and we can discuss our policies and our procedures, right, for playing football. But not out in the open, not out in the public, and not for fodder for the other team. If the other team sees our team on the field fighting with one another, oh my heavens, we know how bad that is. Okay, that is bad. Obviously, we don't want to do that. So, people like Ben Shapiro and Mitt Romney, Rubio sometimes done that. Ted Cruz sometimes. Now, Rand Paul's one of my favorites. Is sometimes a little edgy, but actually Rand Paul is really, I think, being good about quietly discussing issues with Donald and publicly supporting him. I think that's really important. So, and I've mentioned this before. And as far as policies and procedures and ideas for the Republican Party, which is the party that I've picked right now, and that I'm in, that is mostly aligned with the things that I like of limited government, low taxes, personal freedoms, things like that, pro-life. These are very important things for me. Pro-religion, religious freedom. I picked the Republican Party, and so it's the primaries where we can go into the locker room. And we can actually air some dirty laundry, and the primaries do get pretty messy. The primary leading up to Donald Trump's election was huge. Everyone knew that the Republicans had the best chance of winning because we had a two-term Democrat president. Who was that guy? His legacy's been so erased, I can't remember who he was. President, oh yeah, Obama, that's right. That's President Obama. That's funny. So the thing is that it's our primaries where we can really hammer things out and try to get our best candidate who supports our ideas the most. So, and then we did do that. And it was a little brutal, but Trump came out on top. Easily defeated everyone else. I mean, it was easy for him. Trump's timing is great, and his pro-business, low tax, talking about jobs, making jobs, pro-fair trade, and the thing that I wanted to mention with the Molly Tippis thing, and Newt Gingrich had brought this up, that this Molly Tippis thing is very important. Okay, Americans. A big role of the President of the United States is this keeping America safe and having illegal aliens. He's not an immigrant. An immigrant is someone who legally comes into a country. Okay, this guy came into this country illegally, was working here illegally. His employer apparently said that they had vetted him through the now I forgot what that federal thing is employment thing to check to make sure you have a green card or you have the proper permission to work in America. Verify. It's that Verify, I-Verify or something. I'm blanking on the name right now. E-Verify. That's it. E-Verify. So apparently they lied. They were employing this guy illegally, and apparently he's confessed to the murder of Molly Tippis. Okay. Apparently, I've read that he's got a record in Mexico. He's a Mexican national. Okay. Apparently, with a record here in America, working illegally, living here illegally. Okay. He is an illegal alien. He's not an immigrant. And so this murder, Molly Tippis, apparently would be alive right now if indeed this guy is the killer, which it looks like he is. He confessed and he led authorities to the body that he hid in a cornfield under corn stalks. apparently, so this guy, this murder of Molly Tibbetts would have never happened if we had better immigration laws and immigration enforcement. Period. He would not have been working here. He would never, if we had a big wall to keep him out, he would have never been here. This is not about racism or anything, okay? This is about protecting Americans. This reminds me of the Vietnam War, and some of the politicians were going, oh, well, there's just a few soldiers dead here, and many, this is war. But Americans got to the point where they were not tolerating one more death over there of our soldiers, of Americans dying for that war in Vietnam. They didn't want any deaths, okay? And Americans don't like we don't want any more Molly Tibbetts murders, okay? We don't want this. And if we can prevent this with a wall and better immigration enforcement, a merit-based immigration system, then we'll do it. We'll do it. I think that's really important. Thank you guys so much for listening. I wanted to leave you with a great Martin Luther King Jr. Quote. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So I encourage you this day to be kind and loving to others, and also to be grateful to be living in this incredible country, United States of America. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Philip Koerper. This is the Philip Koerper Show, copyright 2018. Have a great day.